For the first 4 years, I did not leave that bedroom, and I didn't step foot outside, nothing. And I only talked to Tom and his son in 4 years. And that's really when the brainwashing went in and threatening my life and threatening my family's life. I was in survival mode. I was just staying alive, doing what I was told.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, a free safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Rennebaum, a suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser. This week I'm speaking with Tanya Nicole Kach. You may or may not have heard of her. She was in the media for a while back because she was found after being missing for 10 years. She has a book. It's called Memoir of a Milk Carton Kid, and a Lifetime movie called The Girl Locked Upstairs, the Tanya Kach story. When Tanya was 14, she went missing. She was basically abducted by her captor and spent 10 years with him. So Tanya talks about her time there and the circumstances and the grooming and all the things. The guy that was her captor was actually the security guard at her middle school, and he continued working at that middle school for the entire 10 years she was with him. I won't say too much more. I'll let her talk about it and tell her story. But before I do, I just want to say on Tuesdays, got episodes called Todd and Tazzy Tuesdays. My good friend, stand-up comedian, and mental health advocate. He's been doing this for decades. He's an incredibly sweet guy. Unfortunately, we haven't been recording or releasing new episodes because poor Tazzy has had a heart attack recently. And I've started a GoFundMe. So if you enjoy those episodes, if you want to help someone out that's been helping other people out for decades, please go to the show notes. There's a link there to his GoFundMe, and any amount that you're willing to give would be incredibly appreciated. Love you, buddy. Here's to a speedy recovery, and I can't wait to record with you again. Boy, February sucks. I woke up this morning here in Saskatchewan, and it was minus 36 degrees Celsius, which in Fahrenheit is almost exactly the same. So it's very cold here. I'm a little miserable, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I hope you're all keeping well and keeping your mind well. Anyway, I'm not sure why I added that part, but hey, if you'd like to send a rating or a review a rating and a review would be perfect on the podcast, that'd be great. Especially on Apple Podcasts or iPodcasts or iTunes or whatever the hell it's called. That would be wonderful. I've had some amazing ones lately. I had one that was, they gave a 5-star review and they were pretty critical about our conversation. It was an old episode that I replayed, and there was talk of medication and stuff. And I agree with everything that review said. And they finished it off with some very sweet words. But yes, I hear you. And I thank you, and I appreciate all the reviews and ratings. So thank you so much. Oh, and hey, just yesterday, I found out that Bunny Hugs and Mental Health has now joined the top 1.5% of podcasts on the internet right now. So that's very exciting. And it's because of ratings and reviews from all over the world and listeners all over the world that I guess happened. I'm not sure how they formulate that, but thank you so much. And you never know, there could be some other news in the future about the podcast. Fingers crossed. So yeah. Anyway, let's get to this episode. So without further ado, I give you Tanya Nicole Kach.
When my parents were together and everything was good, life was okay. I lived a pretty normal childhood up until about 7 or 8, when my mom had a nervous breakdown. And then everything after that just went downhill in my parents' marriage and everything.
Was she ever diagnosed with anything?
Yes, a paranoid schizophrenic.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Did she get treatment and find help for that?
Yeah.
Is she healthy now?
Yeah, she is.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm really close with my mom.
Awesome. Okay, good. And so I'm assuming then you lived with your dad if your mom was sick.
I did. My dad had full custody of me once they split, just because of her mental state.
Did you enjoy living with your dad?
When it was just my dad and I, yeah. our relationship was really close. So until he started dating and then he met it's still now his wife.
Congratulations for him.
Not really. I'm estranged from my dad.
Right, okay, which is common even without trauma.
But my dad blamed me for what happened to me.
Okay, that's, yeah. You're probably making the right move.
Yeah. I haven't talked to him or seen him in over a decade, and I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that. I mean, so this guy that abducted you was your security guard at your high school.
Middle school.
Middle school, sorry. What kind of stuff was he doing to groom you?
Well, it started, with him talking to me in the halls, being nice to me. He would walk past my classroom and just stop and wink at me. He would come and get me out of class, acting like I'm in trouble. But then I'd get out in the hall and I'm like, well, what did I do? And he'd be like, no, we're just going to walk around and talk. And he started giving me money. He started giving me jewelry. That was all part of the grooming process. And he also knew what was going on in my home life because he read my records from the guidance counselor because I was in therapy because I was just coming from a broken home.
So he read that and he thought, this is a nice target, I guess.
Yeah.
Or prey or whatever word you want to use. That sounds pretty despicable.
It is.
Especially I've heard other podcasts and I've talked to other people, men especially, who were groomed by older men and basically sexually abused, and they thought they were in love with this older guy. Like they were 15 years old with like a 30-year-old man. Usually someone of power, like a teacher, and then years later they realized that wasn't love. They were totally manipulating me. Right. But this guy took it even further.
Yes. I was 14. He was 38.
Oh, God. He actually convinced you to run away from home and
to be with him. He painted like the other side of the fence so much greener, and I can take care of you. You won't have, I love you. Your dad doesn't love you. Nobody at home cares about you. Just everything. And he just filled my head with so much stuff. And then he was like, why don't you run away and come to me and I will take care of you. And that's when he devised the plan. He came up with the whole plan about me running away, what streets to take, and what down to details. And then once I was in his house, that was it.
Once you were in the house, did you realize what a mistake you made then, or were you still kind of like under his spell? Like it's called coercive control, right? It's like basically that's what cult leaders do.
Yeah. At first I thought I was in love with him, and, a 14-year-old doesn't know anything about love. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize things were getting bad until, he started treating me like really bad. Not only raping me every day and everything, he just filled my head with a lot of stuff. Like, I was stupid. I was an idiot. And then when I threatened to leave him at one point, that's when he truly threatened to kill me.
So he was giving you gifts and love bombing you and making you feel special. You're from a broken home. Any positivity felt more than the normal person maybe would have felt because you were craving it.
Right. I was so craving love. That's all I wanted was love.
Oh my God, it's diabolical. And he had a son and lived with his parents and they didn't even know you were in the house?
His son knew, but his parents didn't know.
His son knew?
Yes. His son is 2 years younger than me. So I was 14, he was 12.
Did you go to school with him?
I did up until I had run away, yes.
Right. And so he convinced his son not to tell the grandparents that you're...
yeah. His son would never go against his dad.
Oh my God.
And the way that Tom explained it to his son was that this is the best thing for me. He explained my life, my home life, and everything. And, he was like, this is the best thing. And what did he know at 12? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He just did what his dad told him.
I mean, I'm not I mean, you don't know until you're in that situation, or you've been like this kid was groomed right from birth.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so dad's helping this lady out, but why can't I tell my grandparents about it?
Yeah.
But yeah, no judging him at all, because I remember what I was like when I was 12. I mean,
Yeah.
what the hell did I know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Especially when your dad is like threatening you, or maybe he wasn't threatening the kid, but like still, it's your dad. You got to listen to him. Where in the house were you staying then?
I was in Tom's bedroom up on the second floor.
His parents never ever went into the.
If they came in the bedroom, I was put in the closet.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I spent a lot of time in that closet. Every year for Christmas Eve, I spent Christmas Eve in a closet because their tradition was, to open gifts on Christmas Eve. And like he had pointed out to me, I was his special gift. So I had to hide in the closet while they all opened gifts and ate and, all of that. And that was for years.
Well, that's the thing, that it lasted. It wasn't a few weeks. This was 10 years.
Yes, it was 10 years.
That's incredible. Maybe incredible is not the right word, but it's just, yeah. So then this is why I guess it's not the norm. It's not like you were chained up.
No, I was mentally held captive
Right.
because for the first 4 years, I did not leave that bedroom and I didn't step foot outside, nothing. And I only talked to Tom and his son in 4 years. And that's really when the brainwashing went in and threatening my life and threatening my family's life.
Like to the point that you were using a bucket for the bathroom?
Yes, I had to use a bucket for the bathroom and I had to brush my teeth over that bucket.
Over the bucket. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So oh man, I don't even know where to go from here. I mean, my heart is, I can't imagine. I can't even, like, I hear stories like this. When I was a kid, it was like POW camps and things, but it's like, I can't even fathom. You are incredible, not the situation. You're the one that's incredible.
Thank you.
And so because of these reasons, that you weren't chained up, you weren't locked in, you went there on your own volition, physically, not mentally. This is why your dad says or thought or thinks this was your, whatever he thinks.
My dad blames me for what happened.
Because you went there and you stayed there.
Yes. He doesn't understand Stockholm syndrome. He doesn't understand brainwashing. And when he started blaming me, it tore me apart mentally, like, again, because this is my father. Who cares what some stranger says? This is my dad.
This is who you were aching to get back to.
Yeah. Yeah. And whenever I got out, and I was rescued from there, I was in very, very heavy counseling, like everyday counseling and very extreme counseling. And they said that I should have one-on-one counseling with both of my parents. Not them together, but one-on-one with each of them.
Right.
And my mom was all for it, and my father refused.
I can imagine.
Because they said, it was to obviously work on our relationship. And my dad's words were, well, if there's a problem with our relationship, I'll let her know.
Wow. What year was that you escaped?
2006, March of 2006.
That's not that long ago, really. Wow. Maybe I'm just old. 20 years feels quick to me, maybe now.
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking how old you are now?
I am 43, and I got out whenever I was 24.
Did things evolve while you were there for those 10 years?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I guess the situation evolved. Like, did you ever meet his parents or get out of the room and walk around? Or
yes, in 2005, Tom's dad was very sick and he was in the hospital, and then he got out of the hospital. But then he went back in a couple more times with his health problems, and Tom came up with the plan that I would be his girlfriend living in the house, helping take care of his dad to help his mom out.
Oh, so he put you to work, basically.
Yes, I had chores.
God.
Yeah, and everything. And I don't know if Lifetime made a movie about it.
I knew that. I haven't watched it, but yeah.
And shows everything, in the movie.
Was it fairly accurate, the movie, or?
Yeah, the only thing they couldn't include my father in the movie or mention him because my father is very Sue happy.
Oh, right. Gotcha. Okay. What's the name of the movie?
The Girl Locked Upstairs.
But technically you weren't locked?
I had to lock the door.
Oh, you locked it. Right. So that the parents couldn't walk in at any point.
Yeah.
So for 9 years, basically, you lived in a house with people that had never met you.
Yes.
I'm assuming when his parents were gone, you would go about the house a little bit more?
I did. That's whenever I was able to bathe.
Oh, my God.
And use a real toilet.
So how often would that be?
Maybe twice a week, if that.
Oh, man. I've done a few interviews like this where I just get lost for words. It's just, I can't imagine. I can't believe it. Okay, we'll move on from this because I can't imagine you want to tell that story over and over again. But one part of the story I want to hear about is the escape. How did that go about?
So I used to go up a couple blocks away up to a little convenience store to play the lottery for Tom's mom. And I made friends with the owner and his wife and their daughter. Through them and seeing, their marriage and seeing how like it should be, started to kind of open my eyes. But the owner of the store, Joe, he knew something wasn't right. You have this young girl who's in her 20s at this point with this older man, and he's like, what does he have to offer? Nothing, And to me, it was everything because, I was in survival mode. I was just staying alive, doing what I was told. But Joe always knew something wasn't right. And it was then that it took months. It took a good 3 to 4 months, and then I cracked. And that's when I opened up to Joe and told him that, and I blamed myself whenever I told him. I said, Joe, I did something so horrible in my life. And he's like, what? And, and he's looking at me like, how could you do something so horrible? And I blamed myself. And I said, I've been with Tom for 10 years. And then the math started going in his head. He goes, since you were 14. And I said, yes. And Joe was like, oh my gosh, And I knew I was on the missing and exploited children's database because it was in the local paper at one point, like years before.
And you saw it?
Yes, in the paper.
Wow.
And all Tom said to me was, you're just another number. It's protocol. They're not actively looking for you. They're just mentioning your name because you haven't been out.
I know with a lot of these kind of situations, they not only would they love bomb you, but they would convince you that the people that do love you don't love you.
Right.
So he's like, they're not even looking for you. They don't even give a shit about you.
Exactly.
God damn. At what point did you realize I'm not in love with this guy and this is just craziness?
When I really, really got to know Joe and his wife and their daughter up at the store. And
Really?
it was starting to open my eyes. And plus, I'm in this store and you have customers coming in and out that are acting normal. And you know what I mean? And, I'm just this shy girl, really not talking that much, and I had a certain time I had to be back home and, back to Tom's and everything. And Joe he knew something wasn't right. And he kept prodding. And that's when I cracked. And I had told him.
So up to that point, you still thought you were in love?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
But I knew something wasn't right,
Did you ever watch TV?
Yes, he had a TV in the bedroom. I never saw myself on TV, like on the news where they do missing people and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That never saw anything like that.
But would you see other relationships on TV and think kind of like how you did when you saw Joe, like, oh, this is how an actual relationship is?
Yeah.
Or did you just think, this is TV, it's all made up?
No, I paid attention to it and, and I wish that our whatever you want to call it, was like that. But obviously it never would be because he's a predator. He's a pedophile.
Are you still friends with Joe and his family?
I haven't talked to them in a couple years.
Hmm.
After everything happened, we kept in touch, but then life gets in the way, and Joe really, and his wife and everybody really wanted me to build my own life, and that's what I had done.
Well, he sounds like a pretty incredible guy.
Yeah. I'll always thank him for saving my life. Always.
At one point then, was it you or Joe went to the police?
Joe went to the police. I was at the house the day that I got rescued, and the police came, and I thought it would be like sirens blaring and, like what you see in the movies.
Mm-hmm. Jumping through windows and all that.
Yeah, and all that happened was a detective came up on the porch and looked through the front window, and I was sitting in the living room because I knew the police were coming.
Joe told you?
Yes.
Okay.
I knew they were coming, but I couldn't do anything out of the ordinary because Tom would know something's up.
Mm-hmm.
And I feared for my life. When the detective got there and I opened up the door, he's like, "Are you Tanya Nicole Kach?" And I said, "Yes," and I just collapsed into his arms. And then I see all the cops coming in with their guns drawn, and they're like, "Where is he? Does he have a weapon?" And I was like, "No, he's upstairs reading the paper." And then he heard all the commotion downstairs, and he started to come downstairs, and they grabbed him, and they grabbed a chair from the dining room. They put it in the middle of the living room, and they told him to sit down and shut up. They did. And his parents were baffled. His mother was like, "Why are you doing this? What are you here for?" And, she's asking all these questions. And the detective said, "Your son has been holding this girl for 10 years since she was 14. And Tom's mom didn't say a word. She shut up, and she just went and sat in the kitchen and stared out the window."
Do you think she knew?
No, she didn't know.
At that point, was he still a security guard at the school?
Yes, he was the whole time I was there.
Oh, my God.
He went to work every day.
Right under their nose.
Yes.
Unbelievable. And I know that during your captivity, there was 2 other girls that you went to school with who ended up being murdered.
Yeah, the one girl was before I started at that school.
Oh, okay.
But the other girl, yes, I was friends with her sister. And I had seen her and met her in the halls and, "Oh, this is my sister," and, whatnot. But unfortunately, 2 years into my captivity, she was murdered.
Do you think he had anything to do with it?
So I can't say yes and I can't say no. And that's exactly what I told the homicide detectives after I was rescued, and they sat down with me because they asked me all kinds of questions like, did he come home disheveled? Did he come home covered in blood? They're asking all these questions, and they even asked me, did he come home looking like he murdered somebody? And I'm like, I don't know what that looks like, So, but when Tom wasn't in the house, I don't know what he was doing. You know what I mean?
I'm assuming you knew she had died or was murdered?
I found out through Tom's son. He heard the news, and then he came up into the bedroom and told us that she was found deceased. And my mouth dropped open. I was just like, who would do that? And Tom's reaction was very cold. He was like, well, you knew that was coming. And I don't know.
So that must have got your wheel spinning. And if he's making threats to you, you must be like, oh shit.
Yeah,
this is serious. My life is a danger if I try leaving or try using the phone or whatever.
Right.
Wow. So he used that as
leverage.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for leverage. So once you're rescued, I'm kind of curious about the first couple days.
Mm-hmm.
It's like night and day difference, like being in captivity for 10 years to whatever. Oh, I don't know. What did you go into?
As a small business owner, my favorite thing about posting a job on LinkedIn is that when I hit post, I clock out and LinkedIn clocks in.
LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, get qualified candidates, and manage them all in one place. Plus, LinkedIn extends the reach of your job post by allowing you to share it with your network. And hiring managers that add a hiring frame to their LinkedIn profiles receive 2 times more qualified applicants. Go to linkedin.com/achieve to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, after I was rescued, I was down at the police station and they were trying to find both of my parents. Now, my mom had remarried, so they didn't know her last name. They couldn't find her. And my dad, they finally tracked him down to where he lived and they told him that I was alive and I was at the police station. And my dad and his wife came to pick me up. Now, mind you, I thought that after I got rescued, I was just going to be on the streets. I truly thought that they would be like, oh, okay, we're going to enter this in the database and you're free to go. You know what I mean? Like you're not missing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad came and him and his wife said that they would take me home to their house. And the first night there, I sat up all night with my dad and his wife, and I told them everything in 10 years. And that is what really gets to me that my father blames me, was that first night I explained everything and went into detail and, and then my father turns against me. I opened my heart up.
I couldn't imagine doing that to my child.
Right. Who does that to their child? And I'm an only child too. It's not like, I have siblings where,
Maybe he's brainwashed so hard himself that he can't think beyond someone else being able to do this to someone.
Maybe.
So your first night out of captivity you spent at your dad's place. Okay.
Yeah.
How long did you stay with them?
So I was with my dad for about 7 months. And in those 7 months, he was slowly turning against me. And, and I'm trying to build a life in the meanwhile. Like, I had advocates from the Center for Victims, and they helped me get health insurance and finally see a doctor and a dentist and all of that I hadn't seen in 10 years. They're getting me all going for that, and they wanted me to finish my education to get my GED and just, build a life. And that's what I was trying to do. And I have my father in my ear pulling me down. It was just all the time. And I couldn't take it anymore. And my mom and her husband at the time, said, well, just move in with us. It's just getting worse and worse at your dad's. And I did. I moved in with my mom and her husband. I packed what I could in my car and I went there.
Oh, so you got your license too while you were
I
out.
did. I got my license within 4 months after being rescued.
Well, that's amazing that at least your mother was understanding. And was there a trial going on at this point too?
He took a plea bargain. There was no trial that went through.
Oh, that shithead.
Well, the judge and the district attorney felt that I wasn't mentally capable enough to go through a trial. So they
Were you? Do you agree with them?
At the time, yes. Because, I was already being bombarded by the media. And if there was a trial, it was going to get worse.
True, yeah.
And I just was trying to build my life. And I just wanted him to go to jail for what he had done. And a plea bargain came up of 5 to 15 years. That's all he got. And the first 5 was he had to. And then after that, he was up for parole. And every year I wrote into the parole board, and through social media, other people could write into the parole board on why he shouldn't be released. And I made him serve the full 15 years.
But that still means he's out today.
He is. He got out in 2022.
That's, pardon my French, but fucking crazy.
Wait till you hear this one.
Okay.
He's back in the house that he held me captive in.
Living with his parents, or are they gone?
They're deceased. But
God.
He's living in that house that he held me captive in.
How did... whatever. I just want to blame the justice system and stuff, but I know shit happens, but I don't know. I feel as though the charges weren't the proper charges or something.
Right.
Because what was it, like technically So was there technicalities because he didn't come and snatch you? You came to his house, so then technically you weren't kidnapped or something?
No, they couldn't charge him with kidnapping because in the state of Pennsylvania, kidnapping is when they take you across state lines. So they could not charge him with kidnapping. He never took me across state lines.
What?
Yeah, that's what they told me way back.
So if I moved to Pennsylvania, I can snatch a kid and hold him in my house for 10 years, and it's not considered kidnapping because I didn't go to New York.
Right.
That's okay. Anyway, now I'm getting upset.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So when you found out it was, wow, what did you think at the time when the sentencing?
I was upset. I really felt that he should have had more. With the plea bargain, I thought it would be like, 20 to 40 or something like that, and only 5 to 15.
Yeah.
And, like the DA convinced me and she's like, this is guaranteed time for him. He's going to serve time for what he had done to you. He's going to plead guilty to all counts, which you do when you take a plea bargain. And they convinced me that was the best outcome. Yeah.
Do you believe that now?
No.
Do you wish you went to trial?
Yes, I do.
Even though you don't think you were mentally capable? I mean, you've just been there for 10 years. What's a trial? Is that going to break you?
Right. They thought it would.
That must have been, well, what were you feeling the day he got released? How was that?
Oh, I had therapy that day, and I walked into therapy just bawling my eyes out. That was a very emotional day for me. And it was on the local news and everything that he got out, and that, that's hard to watch.
Mm-hmm. So that was 2 years ago. So you have, sorry, I'm all over the place now. So anyway, you move it in with your mom.
You're okay.
This is why I edit, for me, not for my guests.
Yeah.
So you moved in with your mom and you created your own life. You were able to.
I did.
I'm curious about how, because this is a mental health podcast. Like, how were you able to do it?
Through a lot of therapy, extreme therapy. Like I had to go downtown Pittsburgh and do therapy. And then they came to my mom's house sometimes, just to save us the commute. And we did the family therapy, my mom and I, and it was through a lot of that. And my advocate was always there for me, from the Center for Victims. I had a lot of support. What I did was, I got my GED within 7 months, and I started college that spring.
What did you take in college?
Business management.
Oh, so now you're CEO?
Mm-hmm. No, I wish. That would be great.
Was there different types of therapy, or was it just always kind of talk therapy?
It's talk therapy, but then you have trauma therapy as well, where you have to get down to the nitty gritty and really get that out. And it helps heal you.
Mm-hmm.
The more you talk about it, the more you heal.
Ever have, was it symptoms, I guess, of PTSD still?
Oh, yes. If I smell a certain smell that reminds me of him, I see something that reminds me of him, it just brings back all these flashbacks. And sometimes they're hard to overcome, but I do overcome them.
How do you overcome them? Is it, you're still seeing a therapist, or they give you some strategies?
Strategies in grounding myself. When I feel myself with the PTSD and I feel a panic attack coming on, and there's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's deep breathing. I do different kinds to help it pass.
Plus going to therapy again.
Every week.
Oh, you still go every week?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. Back to college. Have you started working and you finished your degree and all that stuff?
I did. I worked in retail. I worked at Kmart, which is where I met my husband now. And I worked at Victoria's Secret.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, that was a fun job. It really was.
I should apply.
Yeah. But it brought me joy to help people, in retail, like help them find something, it brought me joy.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings me joy to help other people. And that's all I've wanted to do since I got out of there, was just help people.
Which is why you're here now and talking and you do interviews and things. That's amazing. I've talked to someone who left a cult, who actually was born into it, and like his parents were in it. And it must have been very difficult to kind of reprogram yourself. Because I mean, there's therapy and there's PTSD, but to actually like, oh, this is what an actual relationship looks like, or this is what love actually feels like.
Right.
So yeah, that must have been mind blowing for you, or was it? Or was it just kind of, oh, this is what it's like?
It was more mind blowing when you're actually in a relationship and they're treating you right. And, like my husband now treats me like a queen. He puts me on a pedestal. And that's what true love is, and he deeply, we care about each other. We're soulmates. I'm blessed that I have him and found him, working with him. Because at the time, he was going through a divorce and he wasn't looking for anybody. And I was going through stuff and I wasn't looking for anybody, but we went out as friends. And through going out as friends, at least, more than a couple times, we were getting to know each other and started to develop feelings for each other. And I was like, this is love. This is true love.
And I'm assuming, being local, like, did he already know your story before he actually met you?
Yes, he did. But he never asked me anything or anything like that. He always just let me open up whenever I was ready.
That's a whole other thing. I couldn't imagine walking around and having everyone know my most intense traumas, and you don't know anything about them.
Right.
I mean, it's different if you're doing interviews and, you're doing it on your own volition. But I'm assuming when you first escaped, there must have been media everywhere and your name was everywhere anyway.
Oh, yeah.
How did you manage, or how do you manage that still?
It's not as intense as like it was whenever I was first rescued, of course. I had a lot of anxiety. The media gives me anxiety, especially when there's like a lot of them. But I had my advocate, Geraldine, by my side the whole time, helping me through it and coaxing me through it.
And so I'm assuming you talked to your therapist about that too, when you were seeing them, about just walking around and everyone knowing my story.
Yes, I would always get, oh, you're that girl. You were the girl from McKeesport. And,
Did you get different reactions from different people? Like you would get people that kind of had that same view as your dad?
Yes.
And would they tell you to your face?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I had a couple people. I had one lady said she ought to slap me because I deserved what happened to me.
What?
Yeah.
Before she could slap you, did you punch her in the face?
No, I didn't.
All right.
I broke down in tears and I walked away.
Oh,
like fast walk, because that was really tough.
That's ridiculous. The audacity.
Oh, and I mean, I was doing an interview for Fox Nation, but we were filming in McKeesport, and we're by the convenience store that I used to always go to, where I met Joe and his family. And all of a sudden, there's people that just start screaming liar at me and bitch. And this is all on film, and I'm just standing there and I just broke down. I broke down. I had a panic attack. It was bad.
Unbelievable. Like, I know people online are relentless because, it's online and people hide behind their screens and all that. I could not imagine. Yeah. I know enough about this person's situation that I can just yell at this person that they're a bitch and a liar. I cannot imagine.
That really hurt.
I can't believe you still kind of live in the area. I would have been like, screw you all. I'm out of here.
It's just not feasible to, I live in another town away from McKeesport, but, I avoid McKeesport at all costs. I don't go there.
Fair enough.
I don't drive through the city. I don't go there. I just stick to my town and whatnot. Yeah, that was something else.
I can also imagine on the flip side that you also got tons of support.
I do, and I still get messages today.
Yeah.
I'll get 3 or 4 messages a day of, such kind words from so many people, saying that I'm a survivor, I'm strong, I help them be strong, because I get a lot of women that write me that were sexually abused as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel so humbled that they feel they can open up to me. And I try to get back to everybody. I really do. And I write them back and we end up in a nice conversation. And, I just had a lady yesterday on Facebook comment on my page about, how I helped her out and helped her not take things for granted. And, it really helped her watching the movie, reading my book.
Yeah, I guess there's that flip side. I mean, it sucks
Yeah.
when you get all the negativity, but it's not
Yeah.
it's not about them. That's amazing. And I know that. Have you become friends with Elizabeth Smart, or have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, or was she an advocate for
Yeah.
you? Or I can't remember her story. When was she discovered? Before you?
I forget what. Yeah, it was before me. I do believe she was found. How the movie and everything came about and how I met her was her writing me on Instagram asking me if I would like to make my story into a bigger platform to reach more people and to help more people. And I was all for it. And I got to talk to her on the phone at first, and then we Zoom called, and then we met in person when I did an interview with her, for after it aired after the movie,
Mm-hmm.
where I did a sit down interview with her. And, to meet her meant so much to me because I'm sitting there with someone and we're looking at each other and we both understand what we went through. She understands what I went through. I understand what she went through. That meant a lot to meet someone that truly understands.
Yeah, that's why peer support groups work so well. But I mean,
Yes.
I've gone through addiction treatment and stuff, and they're amazing. But for someone like yourself, like there's only a handful of people that really, really know exactly what you're going through. That must be
Right.
tough because I mean, peer support groups were a huge part of my recovery. So to only be able to like speak to a handful of people, it must be amazing when you do finally get to chat and meet, and
It is.
it's really powerful. That feeling of being justified, I guess, and validated by someone else.
Right.
What's the name of your book?
It's called Memoir of a Milk Carton Kid.
Oh, so you were on the milk cartons back then, back in the
I
day,
was, yeah. Yes, I was.
and people yell liar at you,
Yeah.
and your captor is out.
Yes.
Oh my God. Well, Elizabeth Smart, I mean, does she get a lot of negative? I mean, I know it's her story, but as far as you know,
One-on-one, whenever I did talk to her, because I did have certain questions, like I was like, do you get so many messages a day? And she's like, yeah, and I said, you can't get to everybody. It's so hard. And she says, yeah, and it breaks both of our hearts. Like, but when you're just inundated with so much mail, messages and everything. And I asked her, do you get any hate mail? I said, because I have so many that, have doubted me and, have said horrible things to me. And, she was like, yes, unfortunately, I do get those ones that blame her for what happened to her.
unbelievable.
We just, in looking at each other, we both agreed they're just very uneducated, ignorant people.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to educate yourself about Stockholm Syndrome and being brainwashed and being groomed.
I guess there's only a handful of people that can really relate with your story,
Yeah.
but obviously you're getting tons of messages every day still. So there must be a lot of people that maybe it wasn't as extreme or didn't go to those extremes for them in their relationships, but there's still a lot of people that go through coercive control and brainwashing, and
Brainwash.
so I mean, you have nothing but my respect. And I applaud you for speaking out about this stuff, and because
Oh, thank you.
by doing it, you do make yourself vulnerable to people that don't get it. But that's not why you're
Right.
doing it. You're doing it because you know that there's so many more people out there that are going through similar situations. again, maybe not the
Right.
extremes, but that can relate. And
Yeah.
it breaks my heart that many people are going through that.
Oh, it does mine too. It really does.
Do you know much about Tom's past or growing up? Like some people, they have their own traumas and they turn into monsters.
He had no trauma, nothing. He was an only child. He had a great childhood. Parents gave him everything in the world. Then he ended up getting married at one point and having his son. Then he went through a divorce. What turned him into a pedophile and a predator, I don't know.
Do you have any kids of your own now?
So that was taken away from me by all of the abuse. I had to have a hysterectomy in my 20s. But I do have my stepdaughter and I have a stepson, but my stepson unfortunately passed away in July
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
in a very tragic motorcycle accident.
Tanya, I am so sorry.
Yeah, he was only 28.
Was having kids something you wanted at one point?
Oh, yes, very, very much. And I'll still sometimes sit down and just cry because I can't have my own. I'm grateful for my stepchildren,
Mm-hmm.
And my stepson who passed away has 2 children of his own. He has a 5-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. So I'm a grandma.
Nice. Okay.
So they call me Mimi. I came up with my grandma name. No, I honestly, I Googled like grandma names.
That's funny.
And I went through the list, but Mimi kept sticking out at me. And so I went with that.
Well, that's nice that I know your heart breaks still that you can't have your own kids, but
Right.
And my heart breaks for you. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's nice you get to spoil some kids anyway.
I do, yes. I do. And I love every minute of it. Every minute.
Do they have a nickname for your husband?
Pap Pap. Yep. He didn't come up with his own name. He just decided to let the kids call him whatever came to them, and Pap Pap stuck.
Nice. Are you working now? Do you have a job or anything?
No, I'm not working right now. I'm a stay-at-home wife. I take care of the house and everything, and I have a wonderful.
Did I hear a voice in the
friend
background?
She's like a sister to me, and my husband and I help take care of her. She lives directly next door to us.
Oh, nice.
She's a big support.
Nice. Well, hello, neighbor.
Hello. Sorry.
That's no need to apologize.
And her name is Susan.
Susan. Oh, very nice. I missed that part.
Oh, she was just talking about her boyfriend passed away 4 years ago.
Oh, I see. Oh, no. So,
yeah.
So you and your husband...
We took over to help take care of her. She has a mental disability. She has the mindset of a teenager, but she's in her 40s. So we guide her down the right paths and...
Well, that's amazing. So you've got a nice, are you content? You have a nice life now?
Yeah, good. I'm very content.
Good. Yeah. You seem happy and good. Well, that's incredible. I'm so happy for you. And I'm so glad that you advocate for other people and that you're just open to talk about this stuff. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything we didn't talk about or I didn't ask that you want people to make sure they hear?
Want people to know that if I'm here, to always send a message out to me, and I do try to get back to everybody. I really do. I love the messages that come in. I love meeting, new people and having a conversation, and it just warms my heart so much that there are so many that said that I have helped them.
Do you have an email or something that you prefer when people do reach out?
They can contact me on Facebook.
Okay.
Or Instagram.
Under?
Tanya Nicole Kach.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I'm so grateful and appreciative that you took the time and, sacrificed maybe being triggered again to talk with me and the audience. So there you go. Thank you, audience, for taking the time to listen to Tanya. I just want to quickly read a review that I very much appreciated. I was walking my dog this morning and I had to dig to find an episode I haven't listened to yet. My friend recommended your show a couple years ago when I was struggling to get a proper diagnosis for my ADHD, but I did not start listening until a year ago. Every time you acknowledge a lack of engagement, I get so sad. My bystander effect takes over and I never do anything about it. I felt really moved to finally do something this morning and reach out. Thank you so much for what you do. I've lived in Saskatchewan all my life, and our mental health crisis is so real to me at 21 years old. Your show is my safe space and has helped me heal even in the most unexpected ways. I am a full-time student and starting law school next year, or else I would buy you a million coffees. Haha. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the reviews and ratings and stuff. It's amazing because when you do that, more people get to hear the podcast. You go up in rankings and algorithms and stuff, and I really honestly do consider this a free mental health service. So why deny people that, and why not rate and review? Tell other people about the podcast in hopes that someone out there might come across it and hear something that they didn't even know they needed to hear. Anyway, thank you everyone. Thank you, Carey, for all you do. Until next week, please remember to make your beds and take your meds. Bye.